up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts tomorrow, hopefully. And I just want to say, for me, this guy over here, it takes a lot of guts to come here. So I don't know if anybody wants to give him a round of applause, but for me, you should. There's really no agreed upon format. There's no.
I didn't do anything about it.
Sorry,
just a conversation.
I tell you,
Just a conversation.
And there's nothing gotcha about this. There shouldn't be.
Yeah.
No. What I mean,
I'm sitting on a podcast. Nobody said it.
It'll be fun.
Hey, Chris, for what it's worth, I didn't even know this was going to be a podcast.
Really?
Honest to God, did you guys contact me and tell me?
I did not contact. No, I talked to him, and he said,
Excuse me,
"Yeah,
can I have your name again?
my name's Mark Denevon
From?
Scranton."
Okay. Organization?
No, none.
Okay.
Yeah, see, apolitical. I have nothing to do with anything.
And I wonder if you all can move in a little.
Oh, no.
Or you can move back a little. That would work.
So we want to, we want to be
Do you want me to
helpful.
move back?
This is, yeah.
Do you want me to move back?
Okay,
I
so
gotta tell you, my first impulse was to walk out of here.
I don't blame you.
I didn't come here for this. This is not honest. This is not anything anybody told you about, but I'll humor you for a while.
I appreciate it.
Right? But when I ask a question, because we're over here,
That's the
ten
point.
people answer my question.
Well, let's get to the root of that.
When I ask a question, he either answers it or I walk.
So how do you want to? So he.
So let me start then. Let me start. Okay.
Oh, your show.
All right. So with answering the questions. Okay. Hey, Chris, you've been around long enough to know this. I don't take questions from reporters on the phone. You send them to me in email. Boris from the Times always sends stuff to me in email. And I found out that when you speak to journalists on the phone, 9 times out of 10, you get misquoted, or they don't quote you at all, or they write what they want to write regardless of what your statement
That's not me.
is.
It's not me.
Okay?
You never gave me the opportunity.
And I just want to say, this is the first time that we have actually
It is.
met each other.
Yeah.
Okay? And political differences aside,
Sure.
okay? Political differences aside. We've gone at each other pretty hard,
Yeah.
okay? And, you know, unfortunately, that's the business. It is what it is,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
It is what it is. And again, this being the first time that we have actually sat down, talked with each other,
Yeah.
met each other, we had smoked together outside.
We did.
Okay?
You did.
Chris, I don't hate you.
What brand do you smoke anybody?
Marlboro Lights.
I think you're both Marble.
I got Cowboy Killers.
All right, all right.
I got them on smokes, folks. Already beat on smokes.
So I just want you to know, I don't hate you.
I don't hate you either. I don't hate anybody.
I don't think you're a bad person. I disagree, however, with the tone and the rhetoric of the opinion piece.
That's fair.
Okay?
That's fair.
So,
And I did lay it on thick. But I was trying to get your gut, man.
but here's the thing.
Trying to get a response.
It's not just me that you lay it on thick.
Yeah.
It's other people.
Who?
It's other people.
Who?
You laid it on Kelly Barrett.
I did not. Her own father told me he didn't think I beat her up in that column. Her own
Well,
father.
he actually talked to me
Oh, no, he talked to you.
the next day.
Oh, yeah.
I got a phone call that morning.
Really on every person in this room.
Yeah,
Well,
he did.
look,
I get it.
let me
Hey,
explain,
hold on.
if you want
Let
an
me-
explanation of the column, it's, and you know, it actually speaks to you, you know, when I talk about you as an alleged candidate. That's loaded, you know, look, I'm not always right, I'm not always delicate, that's just not my style, that's not where I come from.
Hey, buddy, you know that's not
And
my
that's
style.
Scranton,
either.
that's Scranton, and this is Bare Knuckles Town.
Okay.
Right? That's the way it is. But my soul, the genesis of that column was that I didn't understand why Kelly would advertise an endorsement from you. And here's why. She already has the MAGA vote down. All those people are going to vote for her, right? She needs, elections are one of the margins. This is the thing I have about you, whether you're a viable candidate. You raised a lot of money and all that other stuff, but you can't win just with the MAGA base. You got, elections are one of the margins. You got to, and I've been doing this a long time, like you said, you got to convince other people outside of that base to vote for you. If you do end up beating Marquette, he beat you by a field goal last time. You get that? All right, gotta laugh. You're gonna have to take votes away from Matt Cartman, and that's easy to do with the MAGA crowd and the people that you have. You got to convince all these other people that have been voting for Matt Cartwright that
Well,
you
okay.
are not a crazy bully and all this other stuff. You have to do that. You have to. So what I was
Well,
saying
who
is,
labeled me as a crazy bull?
well, a lot of people think you're a crazy bully.
But who puts it in the paper?
I have. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying you're not.
Do I look like one?
I don't know. Not tonight. You know. Not tonight. In your videos, you do.
And again, you know all about shock factor,
I did.
okay?
That's why when I'm called on it by someone who uses it, it's a little amusing.
Okay? And that's fair. I'll give you that, okay? So, this January 6th, this rhetoric that the media continues to pound on.
Okay. I'm glad you brought this up, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, okay? The January 6th rhetoric. The big insurrection, you have written that I am a foot soldier in the coup against America.
Yes.
I want to ask this question. What laws did I break?
See, I don't know, but that leads to my question. Did you go inside the Capitol on January 6th?
Chris?
Did you go, no. Did you go in the building? It's a yes or no question.
No, I did not.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Why not?
Well, wait a second.
Well, hold
No,
on.
we're asking him why he didn't commit a crime.
No, right. I'm asking, I mean, your campaign manager went in, I mean, he lied about it when he got
Whoa,
back.
who's my campaign manager?
It was Frank Scavo. at one
Frank
time.
Scavo is not my campaign
Right,
manager.
all right, so he's not.
Frank Scavo is a friend of mine.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
He did it. He lied when he got back. So now
Okay.
he pleaded guilty.
But-
Wait, let me
But
finish.
hold on, Chris. But is that me?
No, it's not you.
Okay.
See, the question, everybody, I mean, you know, we're looking at this, they're scanning the
Yeah.
videos and all that stuff, they're all over Twitter and everything.
Exactly. And Chris, I don't blend.
They have,
Okay?
no, you don't, right.
If I was
That's
in
right.
the Capitol,
Right,
they would have known about it.
right.
You know what I mean?
You weren't in there. I mean, that's the.
Exactly.
I haven't seen any evidence either.
So I want to
What I don't
know.
understand is why, what were you thinking? You did the video from the steps where you said, I'm here.
Yes, I'm
And
here.
God bless our great patriots. And they were going in to stop the certification of the election they believe was stolen. What stopped you from going in there? Was it because it was illegal or what?
My thought was, what purpose would it serve me to go inside?
Fair enough.
Okay? And, you know, let's be honest, there's a right-wing media outlet and there's a left-wing media outlet, okay? My goal is, and Chris, I watch both. I follow both, okay? To see what the narrative is. Now you've heard the story of the feds organizing this and everything else,
It's crap.
okay? Well, and again, that's your opinion. We don't know.
See, this is where we get into trouble. We're not talking about a difference of opinion. We're talking about a difference of fact.
Well, hold on, so what makes it fact
I
versus
watched it
opinion?
happen.
And I did
There was
too,
no
and
evidence.
and here's the thing, we can
Evidence.
go on this all night with the magnetic
Okay,
locks,
okay,
with everything. But now my question is, what law did I break?
Well, I don't know. You did go past the police barricades.
There were no police
Well,
barricades.
they weren't there because people like Frank and others ripped them away.
Okay, so hold on. So I went past imaginary barricades.
Hold on, hold on. The FBI, those other
Hold on,
crap.
hold on.
Okay, hold on.
One at a time.
So can you admit that I did not commit a crime that day? Or that you have no, okay, I know that's a hard
I don't know
answer.
that you committed a crime.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what.
You don't know if I committed a crime.
Don't you think that after 10 months, they would have,
Yeah. So
they would have pressed charges?
So-
Some would have done it.
Okay. Do you know, and you do know this, that insurrection is a crime? That is a federal felony?
Yes.
Do you know of anybody who's been called or who has been charged? I know a lot of people who've been called insurrection.
So it's a question of semantics.
No, it's a question of law.
All right.
I mean, has anyone been charged with?
I don't know.
No, no, no. No one has been charged with
So it's
insurrection.
the word that you have a problem.
Well, I mean, it's like calling.
Well,
somebody-
it's the
like
word.
calling
So to
somebody
me,
something
Chris,
tomorrow.
to me. Hold on.
What, if anything,
Hold on.
what are they guilty of?
To me, that is no different than calling somebody a murderer, a rapist, a child molester, okay?
Yes.
When you call somebody an insurrectionist, that implies that they are guilty and have been charged with committing an insurrection.
That is your interpretation?
Okay, but see, it's the tone of the columns. Chris, that is my issue.
You know what?
That honestly, and we're having an adult conversation.
You talked about hypocrisy, and, you know, it just makes me laugh because and I think, maybe it's not you, but so many Republicans, they're the biggest snowflakes there are. Because everything is an attack. Everything is an attack. It doesn't matter what I say or what I write. Now, I do.
You mean everything you write?
Everything I write doesn't matter. Now, that's another thing. It's funny. I saw people that were saying, Kelly never goes after Democrats. He's only got the Republicans. Dude, ask the city Democratic machine about that. Okay? Or the generations, and ask Bill Courtwright about that. And I love that somebody said, "Oh, you jumped on Courtwright at the end." Bull, All right? I can't. I write for a family newspaper. I can't use the word I want to. That's crap. Okay? I have been after more Democrats by far than Republicans simply because it's a target-rich environment. There aren't many elected Republicans. Okay? And the last ones who were commissioner both went to prison. One of them remains a friend of mine. So, just everybody loves me. It's like Mark. Mark used to love me when I was going after the Democrats. He loved it. We used to talk on Facebook and all that other stuff, right? And like I said, we broke up over Trump. And I don't remember calling him a fascist. If I did, that was wrong. And I apologize. I apologized to him out there. Okay? But he kept filling my feed up with Trump crap. And I didn't want it. And I told people, I just got rid of a lot of people because it was making me more and more angry.
I mean, filling up your feed like with his posts?
Yeah, on Facebook. It just kept showing up, all this Trump crap, because I followed it.
So let me ask you this then. And not today's piece, but yeah, I've been so busy today, I did not even get a chance to sit down and do it. Okay? I've been too busy.
Very disappointed.
I know. So, but yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was the day before.
Yeah.
You wrote that you don't so much have a problem with me. You have a problem with what I represent.
Yes.
And what exactly is it that you feel I represent?
Well, Trump, frankly.
And what's wrong with
Well, but it's okay.
that?
Can we define that?
Yeah, let's define Trumpism. Let's define it.
Define Trumpism. Okay, well, he lost.
Sarah's egg. This is, keep it respectful. Keep it respectful.
He lost. That's not a matter of opinion. It's a matter of fact. And until it's proven otherwise, it's a fact.
But what is that? Like, what is?
Yeah, but what is Trumpism?
Trumpism is, it's the whole thing. It's the way, it's the way you can talk to other people. It's the way you, and this is you, right? We're talking about you because I don't want to,
No, that's fine. Talk about me.
Yeah,
Talk about me.
you went out, he made it okay, right? For people to go out, for you to go out and say, I'm a drunk who smells like cat piss and all that other stuff. To say the rottenest shit you can think of, right? He made that okay. So when
But
push
did he,
back a
wait,
little
did he
bit-
make that okay, or
Yeah, he
did
did.
people always do that?
No, but people were always ready to do that.
Or were they just
He made it
ready
okay
to do it?
He made it okay.
Well, and I'll tell you this, and Chris,
I get accused of being
Everybody,
indelicate.
please.
I get accused of being indelicate.
Right.
When I use the same tactic. You've been on Tucker Carlson a few times.
Yeah,
You think Tucker plays?
he does. He doesn't mess around.
Right.
And I
And
think,
you love, and you're a friend of Steve Vance.
yes,
Right.
you-
I got
anybody
it.
who reads your article will know that.
Well, that's true.
Okay?
But that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about jumping, I'm talking about the continued push to delegitimize the freest and fairest election in this nation's history.
Hold on. Now, hold on. Listen. So, you can sit there with a straight face,
I just did.
okay, and tell everybody that Joe Biden is the most popular president in American history.
No, I can't say that. And
Okay.
it also has nothing to do with the votes. What does it have to do with the votes?
You got one.
If he legitimately won the election, okay,
Yeah.
See,
come on.
Here's where I have an issue, right?
Sure.
Is that I can neither prove nor deny that those statements are true on either side. So to say that like it's an affirmative, that it's a definite, I think that's a little disingenuous because people are already saying like, oh, it's the freest, fairest, the most amazing, and we know that in the past, there's
Who's in the
been-
White House?
Joe Biden. No one's denying it. No one's denying it.
Can we all agree that Joe Biden is in the White House?
Yes.
Or there's a few
Yes.
folks here who think it's a soundscape.
Guys, please.
He's not in charge. So,
Eddie, please.
all right, there it is. He's not in charge. Someone just said he's not in
Yeah.
charge. And there's this whole idea that Trump is actually, or the military is actually running the government.
No,
that's
No,
not what
guys,
we
guys,
know,
Guys,
hey, hold
guys,
on.
it's between these two guys.
Yeah.
We know that Joe Biden is a puppet for the liberal wing of the party. We know that,
He can't seem to get them to agree with him on anything. He's not moving either.
but we know that. The problem is when you serve too many masters, you can't make them all happy. Okay? So, you know, and this is the other thing that bothers me too. Everybody is stuck on January 6th, insurrection.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Tuesday?
Yes, okay, yeah, here's the thing too. I'm glad you brought that up. See, he's leading me in this now, okay? Because you brought up that there is another coup happening right here in our own backyard.
Yes.
What is that? Nobody's told me
Well, I'm
about
talking
it.
about your friends out in Greeley, the Rod Byron Ministries people, and Steve Bannon, and you know, that guy, he gets up.
All right.
He gets up in his bullet crown and talks about revolution all the time.
Okay, so let me tell you this. Chris, we are still a country ruled by a constitution,
Yes.
okay?
Thank God.
And in that constitution is your right to free speech,
Yes.
okay? Freedom of religion,
Yes.
and freedom of the press.
Absolutely.
Now, the freedom of the press was included in that First Amendment
Yes.
to give the average person a voice to be able to criticize their government without retaliation,
Absolutely.
okay? But what has happened now in today's society is the press is now an arm of the government to go after the people.
Yeah, that's the way you see it.
Chris,
Well, do you think
you,
those
hold
should be-
on.
Okay.
You yourself, after January 6th, were putting out columns and articles how you were calling the FBI, and you've been in touch with this person and that person, trying to get Frank Scavo charged.
Not accurate.
That's not accurate.
No. All right, what happened? I was trying to get Frank to tell the truth about what he did down there. Trust me, the FBI doesn't need me to send them tips. Now, my readers, a lot of them, called the FBI. I do know.
I know they did because you prompted them to do
So
so,
I controlled their minds and what they did.
okay? You prompted them.
And you know, remember that I'm a failed journalist at a newspaper nobody reads. Remember that.
Well, here's the thing. Hold on. We're being respectful.
But you're still employed.
We're being respectful.
Yeah, you're still getting paid. Pay me, I'll keep going in. Yeah.
But Chris, explain to me the difference between
Up to Large Street.
yep, the difference between an opinion writer and a news writer.
Oh, I'm glad to explain that. Because a lot of my critics pretend they don't know that difference or either don't know it. So I'll tell you. What I write is reported opinion, all right? I gather facts, I do reporting, I talk to people, then I decide what I think that means, and then I write it.
So you gather facts like writing like.
The idea that I should
insurrections.
play it, people are like, why don't we play it down the middle? Because that's not my job, man. I'm paid to take a side.
Can I ask you a question? Don't you
Yeah.
think there should be an opposing viewpoint to your point of
We
view?
run some conservative columns.
But like, is there an in-house like conservative
No,
reporter?
we had a conservative, John Cole.
So are they freelance or are they?
No, you know, I mean, we have John Cole, the guy who illustrates my column. He's
Yeah.
he's
He's a good artist.
old school conservative, but he's not happy with what's going on that side of the aisle.
So-
I don't know what you want me to say.
I don't
I'm
have
an
an
opinion, I'm an opinion writer, and people pretend that that's not true. You know, and it's not, it's not my job to take it down the middle. I'll talk to anybody, and I'll try to talk to both sides, but that's another problem that happened in journalism, it got really bad in the 90s and carried into the aughts, and it's this he said, she said stuff. You talk to one side, they say blah, blah, blah. You talk to the other side, no, it's blah, blah, blah. And nobody does the work in the middle. The reporting, well, what this guy says, does it square with the facts? What this guy says, does it square with the facts? We got away from that.
Do you
There's
think-
a lot
do
of
you think-
problems with the media?
I think too many people wanted to see who was first rather than who was right.
Maybe.
Do you think
Okay.
that might be a symptom of even today? Like right in this
I
room
don't know
right now?
what it was.
That there is no opposing like he said, she said. It's more, I think what's happening here is that, it's what you said and not,
Look, I am
You
who
know
I
what I
am,
mean?
so everything that I write goes through the filter of who I am.
So,
I don't pretend that
let
that's not
me,
true.
Chris, now you've seen my campaign ad, okay?
Yes, a million
All
times.
right, and I know you're disappointed I didn't show up tonight in a sleeveless Harley shirt, with a battle axe in each hand, with a hockey mask on, okay? Throwing body parts up against the
Yeah,
wall,
with Halloween coming up, I was hoping.
all right, you know what I mean, okay?
this is
So-
Halloween.
But Chris, you've seen my ad.
Yeah,
You and I think everybody else who knows me knows,
yes.
I'm not a big fan of the GOP either.
I know that. And dude, that's one of the
Okay.
things I like about you.
I am not.
Oh, wait, you like it? This is
No,
good.
that's it. One
This
of
is
the few
good.
things I like about
Yes,
you.
and I'll tell you this.
Is that I think he's disgusted with both parties, which, so am I.
Yeah.
It just so happens that only one party right now is trying to tear down our republic. Now, you may not agree with me, but the Republicans
He's
right
not
now
here.
are clear President Biden. Hey, Democrats can't do anything. You know, one of my favorite quotes about the Democrats, Will Rogers, right, one of the great American humorists. He said, I don't belong to any organized party. I'm a Democrat. And that's absolutely true. These guys, I voted for Joe Biden.
No.
No, because he was my only choice.
Would you have rather had a better choice?
Yeah, well, of course. They'd rather have a better choice than a 78-year-old guy who's been in government for 45 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't get presented that choice. And I think there's a lot of frustration that we all share.
Do you think it's a party problem?
Absolutely, but you're only ever going to have two parties. The Green Party, I'll tell you, I love these people. I love friends. I have a friend I work with, right? Back in 2000, when Gore Bush, right? This guy voted for Ralph Nader, right? Ralph Nader.
Yeah.
Now there were people like last time who voted for the Green candidate. That's great, but who really voted for was Bush. And he doesn't want to accept that. And that's cool. If you voted for Bush, you vote for Bush. But you voted for Nader, you voted for Bush. Because you took the vote away
Right.
from Al Gore.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. I mean, I would be an independent. I really would if I could still vote in the primary. You know, I mean, that's,
Pennsylvania should have an open
well,
primary.
that should happen in the primary. I can't help decide who the nominee is if I can't vote. Now, I'm a Democrat. I can't be a Republican because those people hate me. They hate, no, wait, no. All I ever hear from Fox or talk radio or whatever it is about how me and mine are enemies of the people. This is from your own president. We're enemies of the people. We're communists. We're socialists. We're pedophiles. We're all this horrible shit. We're speaking.
Nobody ever said you were pedophiles.
No. It happens all the time.
Okay.
Okay. No, it's out there. It's out there.
Okay.
That's not the
And again,
the whole Q thing
here's
is about satanic pedophiles.
here's the problem. Here's the problem. Okay. I can't stand the political game that goes on in the GOP.
Yeah.
Okay? And I can't stand what is happening to the Democrat Party right now. Now, this is not the same Democrat Party today that it was in the Kennedy era.
Yeah. Neither is it the same Republican.
It's not, okay? And what we have here in Northeast PA is we have a large uniparty.
Uniparty.
A uniparty. You see it in Luzerne.
What does that mean?
They're all in bed with each other, and they're all in it. They will play either side for their own political careers or futures. Okay? And that's what they do.
It's not really new. Yeah.
Yeah, okay? To me, it's about what do my morals tell me? Where do I fit in?
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I'll tell you this. Trump was a guy who brought me into politics. I never really paid attention before. Okay?
Yeah.
He was a man that made me start paying attention.
What?
I think he exposed a lot of things that a lot of people had no idea happened in the political realm. He exposed things that
Like what?
happened in DC.
Like what?
Okay, I'll tell you what, even in the Republican primary debates with Trump, when he gave an answer and everybody booed, and he said, those are all Jeb Bush's donors right there in the front row. And I started, you know what?
Yeah.
That's how it works. That's how it works, okay? And I think the American people right now, Chris, are fed up with the Democrat Party, and they're fed up with the establishment Republican
Yes.
Party.
There we are.
Okay? Is that one thing that we can agree on?
Well, this is the thing, I was gonna say, you voted for Trump because it was a big middle finger to the establishment.
Absolutely.
That's it, and I get it.
Absolutely.
I felt the same way. I just didn't think he was the vessel. Look, I'll say this, Trump is the president we deserve. At that time.
Thank God.
He's the president we deserve. Because our politics are ridiculous.
They are.
And Congress is a joke on both sides.
They are.
I understand the frustration. Look, I'm a blue collar guy. I grew up, this is the only job I ever had where I had to wear a clean shirt, mostly clean shirt, seriously. I'm a grandson of farmers. I grew up, working class. I get the frustration. I remember, I failed out of college the first time because there was a bar across the street. I've been open about that.
Been there.
Yeah, right. So, I worked every job, every crap job you can imagine. In fact, I actually worked a crap job. I shoveled sheep shit in barns for $4 an hour. I almost killed everybody there one day when I went to light a cigarette. And all she was only was they actually dove and slapped it out of my mouth. But I know what it's like to not have any hope. I know what it's like to look in the one ads every day and there's nothing you're qualified for. There's no jobs, there's nothing that pays anything. You keep paying your taxes, you keep paying your bills, you keep working, going to work, and you don't get anything, you don't get ahead. I get all that stuff. I'm very blessed to have a better job than I used to, but that's because I went back to school, right? And I actually worked, and I got an internship, and I worked my way up, and that's how I got to be where I am. I was very blessed with opportunities, but I worked for it.
Exactly.
And this is what I'm going to say. A lot of people who got left behind, right? But a lot of those people got left behind because they're standing still.
You're absolutely right.
And that's where I have a problem. If you're gonna stand still, don't bitch about being left behind, okay? Now, I understand the rage and disappointment that fueled Trump's rise. Look who he ran against.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's Hillary, I remember. it was
You
so
can't
funny.
get more, and I'm going to use the word deep state,
Right.
corrupt than Hillary.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Without even going into that stuff, here's another example of me being critical of Democrats. And Hillary people were so mad at me, readers and people in the campaign, because I just pointed out obvious things. Remember that time when she went to a gas station, right? She was gonna go to a gas station to talk to regular people getting gas. She didn't know how to use the pump.
Yeah.
Really? No, she
Yeah.
didn't know how to use it.
True story.
You know what I mean? It was like Bush when he didn't know what the scanner was. When the milk went across. I mean, this is where we're going. We can agree on the disappointment. I don't think the rage is particularly constructive. What amazes me, right? What just is why Trump? Was it just because he was the guy at the time?
I think Trump tapped into what the entire country was feeling,
Yeah, I don't disagree.
that they were just fed up with the political machine.
Yeah, I get it.
And he tapped into that. And who better to run this country than a man who ran businesses?
Yeah, well.
Okay, and I know we do, okay, but you know what? That's the great thing about America. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
I was not a fan of Donald Trump long before he became president.
I can tell you this.
He's everything I was raised not to be.
I can tell you this. When I met this man, Chris, the energy, the enthusiasm, I immediately compared it to what is shuffling around the White House now.
Well, I'd rather have,
And it's like night and day.
I'd rather have integrity and honesty.
Well, that's, hold on. Sure.
I'm gonna say this. Donald Trump, he lies. He brags about himself all the time. He was born on third base, thinks he hit a triple. He started out life so hard with like $200 to $400 million. I can't remember what the figure is.
It was 100 that he
Or
turned
$100 million.
into several billion.
You know what I mean? There's some dispute about that. I'm not gonna get into this argument. For me, Donald Trump is not any different.
Jack.
He's not any different than the establishment. He's not.
But he's not.
I think
He
he's
was
a
at
lot.
Hillary's wedding. You know, he has donated to these people for years.
He has, but
I think what people saw on those Republican debates was a bunch of stiffs and Donald Trump.
yeah.
You know, that's it. I mean, we can agree on that. This guy is really good with the crowd. I've been to many rallies, and that part where he says, look at those evil sons of bitches, the press in the back. Everybody turns around, and I'll tell you what, it was funny. You'll love this story. I had a kid, a local high school kid, and he came to one of the rallies with me. You know, he was like shadowing us for a minute. And we're sitting there, we got to that part where Trump turns and says, you know, sticks everybody on the media, this kid. He turns to me, he says, are we going to be okay? And I said, probably.
Yeah. And Chris, you know, you can see in this room tonight.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, and again, it's, after sitting here talking with you, I'm sure we could go out and have another smoke and have a conversation like 2 men.
Sure could.
Okay? But with what you write, where you were almost writing as if you feared for your safety.
No. I really didn't. I don't feel, you know.
The impression from reading it.
Well,
Some people got that impression.
No, look, you know, this was an unknown thing. No details given to me. And people, you know, people get ticked off. And there's a lot of people that are really, really mad. Now, I don't see those people in this room, but they might be. So what I heard from a lot of people was, man, you shouldn't go, you should, you know, it was never an option, I was always coming. But, you know, some of that was just kind of, you know, acknowledging that. You know, I didn't expect to be beat up here or shot or anything.
No, that's not who
That's
you are,
not, well,
Chris.
I'm not saying it is. It's
That's
who
not
some
who you
people
are.
are, right? And you know, I was not worried about that, no.
And you know, you have a 10% on each side,
Wow, man.
which is that radical left.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know, this country is, you know, and I've written this many, many times, you know, the middle of this country, it doesn't have anything to do with one of it. It's always the two extremes. It's the extreme right, it's the extreme left. They get all the ink and they get all the power. And I've said this forever. Purple America is going to have to find a way to stand up together.
You're right.
Because this is not going to get righted. It's not going to get fixed. You know, and now we have. And so, look, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be another insurrection. I know that there are people out there pushing that kind of thing, right? I love this country. And I love all my fellow Americans. I don't want to see that happen. All right? I know there's a lot of problems with the institutions in this country, but that has been, you know, a lot of that stuff has been worsened by people who are deliberately trying to. I got no interest in lying to you. Okay? This idea that you know, I have like a liberal media card that I flash at the supermarket and I get free stuff. You know what I mean? I have a mortgage, right? I'm driving a 10-year-old car. It's a Ford Fusion, for God's sake.
Well, mine's 15 years old.
Yeah, well, okay.
And I have a mortgage too, okay?
You
You
got a
know what I
mortgage,
mean?
and what I'm saying is, I got no, the only thing I have, my only asset professionally, is my credibility. That's it. You guys don't think I have it, but there are some people who do. But my point is, I have no interest in lying to you. And this is what I wish people would say. Who does benefit from lying to you? Who are the people? It's not me. I'm a working class guy still. You might think I make a lot of money. I don't. I'm well compensated. It's the best money I've ever made, but I'm not rich by any stretch. And frankly, I don't need to be. I think I'm like most Americans. I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be able not to worry about paying the next bill. And I don't need to be rich.
Hey, Chris, that's exactly how I am. If I
There
want
you
to be
go.
rich, I go back into business,
Yeah.
okay? I'm out. And you know, this little boy over here,
Is that your son?
that's my son,
What's his name?
Jack Daniels.
That's real. That's real.
That little guy there,
Daniel.
that little guy there
Yeah,
is what motivated me
right.
to jump into this with it, okay?
I get it.
And I'll be honest with you, I learned a lot last cycle about how dirty, corrupt, and how much of a hellhole politics is, okay? So I told myself, you know what? I'm not going to
I
play
understand.
the political game because let them play the game. I just want,
What does that mean?
you know, the guys go around, kiss the ring, okay, and it happens on both sides.
Sure.
You know, you didn't ask us permission, and if you could, I don't need to ask you shit, okay? Chris, trust me, I think I give it to Republicans,
You do need to vote.
yes, but I think I give it to Republicans sometimes more than you do,
That's fine.
okay?
You know, maybe that's true, but you need those people to vote for you.
My big issue is 10, 15 years from now, I don't want this little boy coming to me saying, Dad, how come nobody stood up and fought for us? Okay? So,
Is that your,
yes.
what's your name?
Jamie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I think you're very passionate about what you do. I'm very passionate about what I do, okay? I think, however, we have come on some common ground tonight,
Sure,
okay?
sure. I'm gonna really get it. I'm gonna say you should never have sat there.
Who's gonna say that?
Oh, readers, I mean, there are some people who think, I wrote that. A lot of people think that, give it Teddy, Iggy, hasn't heard anything.
But isn't it good that you?
Oh, yeah, no, I think so. No, actually, I
I
don't
mean-
care about that. Look, I take it from the right and left, trust me on that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's just, I'm glad we did it. I mean, you answered my question, and, I've got some other ones, maybe we'll get to there some other time. But yeah, I mean, I see a lot of people here too that I know.
Yeah, and Chris, here's the thing. I think what people want is they just want fair.
Amen.
That's it. They just want fair.
Yeah, but let me
Okay.
ask you this, what about your commercial says that?
What, about being fair?
Yeah, just about anything, like what are your, do you have any platforms, do you have any policies, do you have anything?
Have you been to my website?
I haven't, no, I'm asking, I mean, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, obviously,
I will.
yeah, obviously I do,
Okay.
okay? And I'm more conservative than most on my issues of policy.
Yes.
Okay?
But your ad doesn't say that.
Well, no, I'm not gonna
It
discuss
says
a
Teddy-
tax
It says
policy.
Teddy Smash, that's what it says.
I'm not, Chris, this was an initial campaign ad. And trust me, I think if anybody can make a tax policy ad exciting, I could do it. But that wasn't the intent of that
Nobody can do
initial ad,
Make a tax policy exciting.
that. No.
all right? So we're gonna see if we can get that done then. I'm gonna make a
Yeah,
tax
that's-
policy ad
Policy ad.
exciting,
Make tax
okay?
policy great again.
That's it.
But what I wanted to accomplish tonight, hold on.
Thank you.
What I wanted to accomplish tonight was for two men to sit down,
Yeah,
okay? Discuss some of our differences openly
yeah.
tonight. And I'm sure if we wanted to sit down and discuss all our differences, we would need a full weekend.
It would take a long time.
Okay.
No doubt about that.
However, that we can discuss those differences respectfully.
Yes.
Okay.
This is a big, this is a rarity.
And
I'm happy about this.
And I think that right there is a good thing, okay? I know that you are not the son of Satan, okay? Running around the offices and the Scranton Times and everything you touch burst into flames, all right? But I also want you to see, Chris, that the people here to support Trump, the people here who are America First type people,
Right.
these are not bad people,
I didn't say the word.
okay? They're not bad people.
veterans that served this country. That's who he represents.
I've never denigrated you, sir.
He hasn't. He has not denigrated my
You're backing me up
service.
to
And
that.
again, we're being fair, okay, we're being fair. He hasn't, okay?
And I've been covering veterans here, abroad. I've been at their funerals. I'm proud of
You went
that.
overseas, didn't you?
Yeah, I was in Iraq, I was in Bosnia. I went with our soldiers. I've been at their funerals, I met their families. I don't have anything to prove to you or anybody else about veterans. I got some here tonight. They're all heroes to me. And I've gotten to know them as people, not numbers, because I went there with them. I was embedded. Right. I walked the streets of Baghdad with them at night. I did the ride and Humvee and all that stuff. I was there, I ate with them, slept in the same tent. So it really bothers me when people jump on the veterans thing.
For the vets, for the vets, for the vets.
My newspaper is always been there for them too.
And I just think Chris did. We're at a point in history right now
Yes.
where we need to start coming together
I agree.
as people
Couldn't agree more.
and to stop the divisiveness. Now, and again, we talked about this. We need to fix what's wrong in our own house, okay, before we can go out and fix anything else, which is why you guys all know I'm not a party guy, okay? We need to fix that first, okay? And the Democrat Party, they got their issues too, okay? Hey, Jack. Honey.
You wanna give us some whiskey?
Obviously, they need to fix their wheelhouse as well, okay?
Sure.
Now, one thing we gotta realize is we're all in this together right now, okay? And instead of every day constantly trying to tear people apart, we should be looking for common ground to bring people together,
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
And that's
I agree. Couldn't agree more.
the one thing we need to start doing.
Yeah.
So, I'll let Chris finish up. If-
I'm just, again, I want to go back to the whole, look, I don't get your approach to this. What you're doing politically, right, with your ads and the things you say, the videos you made over the past couple of days, they're not geared towards bringing people together. Right?
And neither are your
No,
articles,
that's right. That's not my job. I'm not running for anything.
okay?
Right?
Neither are
That's
your
not my
articles.
job. What I'm saying is, that stuff plays in Wayne County. And it plays with your supporters here. It don't play downtown, man. It doesn't play in Scranton. And it's not good enough. And that's why I say to you, this is some free political advice. You know what, I'm gonna give some to Bogdan. I'm gonna give some
You better give a lot more to
I'm gonna
him.
give some to Bogdan. I'm gonna say, last time he beat you by a field goal, right? He showed you kick the field goal, right? Yeah. Kick the field goal, that was his main. Vote for me, I can kick a football, right? So this time, he should get like a blocking dummy and put Cartwright's face on it and tackle it. He should blitz it in the end zone. That's what he should do, And, I just think, again, maybe you think this is the right way to go. Elections are one of the margins. That's where this whole thing started. Me pointing that out with Kelly Barrett's, run. You have to convince more people. If you want to bring people together, you're going to have to reach beyond.
So you're being critical of the campaign?
Yeah, I mean, well,
So
I
that-
just don't understand.
is that a confusing thing for
I've watched
people?
100 campaigns. I've
Yeah.
covered, 6 presidents?
Probably 600 campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, really, lots of campaigns. And the one thing that is more true, the one truism that is never violated is that you win on the margins. Your base is your base, but you got to get other people.
Well, I agree. But you take a look at what's happening right now, and I said this earlier. Fuel oil for people's homes this year is going to be double than what it was last year, okay? I carry no responsibility for putting Joe Biden in office. I carry no responsibility for making that
I'm
happen.
giving him total responsibility for the inflation.
Sure.
Absolutely. And
Hold on,
Guys,
the
hold on,
pandemic
hold on,
had
hold
nothing to do with it.
the buck stops here, right? The buck stops here. You look at the Afghanistan withdrawal, you look at everything that's happened. Let me tell you, Chris, there's so many old school, middle of the road Democrats,
Yeah.
okay, that have come on board with me, saying, Teddy, I'm with you. This needs to stop. We need to change, okay? And what they're tired of is the same establishment politicians that go around and they deliver their pre-scripted GOP lines, okay, to try to pull in the middle. They're trying to pull in this and pull in that, and then they go down there, and Chris, they don't do a damn thing, okay? The American people right now are looking for somebody to go to DC to put a foot in someone's
What's our
ass.
state legislature? You have any interest in that?
None whatsoever.
It's been solidly Republican for 15
And you know what? I'm not happy with 90% of them.
Because you could run for state rep. and win.
Oh, I know that.
Easily.
I know that. I have no interest. I'm going after the big fight. So,
That's your choice.
If I may, it seems like everybody wants a cigarette.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta get home to my wife.
So for everybody in this room, I want to say thank you for being quiet and being respectful
Yeah.
and being appreciative of this conversation. And I want to especially thank Chris for being here because, like I said at the beginning, it takes brass balls to show up and do this, and I think everybody appreciates it. So thank you. It seems to me that there's a lot of common ground that could be worked off of. It's not up to anybody, I'm just making a blanket statement, I'm not holding anybody to
Very
anything.
basic, yeah.
But it seems
that's a
like,
big blanket.
Yeah. That's-
it seems to me that there's a lot of commonality, and maybe the divisiveness on both sides should be, let's ask first before we judge, and that's everybody. You know, that's the hope. Somebody once told me hope is another word for fail or something. So,
Well, this is what I said, I mean, you know, look, not to be a jerk, but it doesn't change my opinion of Teddy Bear.
but
It's not.
but-
We can be cordial, but, you know.
but that's,
No, and that's fine.
that's progress,
That's fine.
All right.
you know? So,
And again, and I said this from the jump, all I wanted to do was sit down and have a conversation.
That works.
That's it.
And I know now that I need to contact you via email.
Absolutely.
you want to give me your email after this?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Of course he's got it.
Of course he's got it.
Of course he's got it.
So, gentlemen, I think you're both truly Americans, and I'm very grateful that you were sharing this conversation with us, and you know, whatever the future is, it is, but this moment happened, and I'm grateful that you guys.
Thanks for ambushing me.
I didn't mean to.
Hey, I was ambushed with this just like you.
Oh, stop making me
No,
the villain.
I was.
America was ambushed.
Better than me.
So, thank you, everyone.
What you doing?
We'll see you again